On the season finale of My Adventures with Superman.
I gave you a chance. I reached out my hand to bestow the favor of Empire, but you rejected me. You are a world in rebellion, and you will be purged.
My Adventures with Superman, season finale next Saturday at midnight on Toonami. Next day on Max.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Toonami Fair TVP. Today on July 10th of 2024, I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
Alright, so just to mention, and maybe you've even already noticed it, unfortunately I'm having to use an older computer to record this, including its older microphone, and that means the audio might sound weird. I think this thing for some reason records my audio really quietly, so to try to make them equal I have to really blow up my audio and really decrease yours. So for any listeners, that might be why things are quiet and sound a little weird. Anyway, I guess I might as well discuss briefly the almost odyssey I had with the computer over what should be a minor fix. So my computer's on the laptop, one of the keys is pretty loose, as in like it basically has fallen off a few times, although I've been able to put it back on. So I bring it over to the store, and I'm like, hey, this key is loose. Can you fix it? And maybe these other keys that are also kind of loose. They're like, okay, we'll take it in, but and I've done this before. Normally, in most cases, it has just been, okay, we'll take them, and then maybe they bring it in the back, and then maybe 5 minutes later, it's all done. The last time I had this happen, because my laptop is kind of old, so the keys do need replacements more frequently, the person literally did it right in front of me. It was like 5 minutes. They just took the thing off. They, sort of used this thing to sort of dust or wipe or whatever, and then they put in the new one. So this time they're saying, okay, we got to take it in. And by the way, it will be back to you within a few days. And now this had happened to me before once, where they had to take it in, and I'm thinking, okay, even though it's a short thing, I can get it. They've got some technicians in the back. They do things in order, presumably. While mine is fast, there's a bunch of guys who came before me who they need to spend a bunch of time working to fix things. I'm okay with that. But the last time I had to bring that in, they got it to me the next day. I dropped this off yesterday in the morning, and it's still not back. So that's why it's all of that. I mean, I could have probably replaced it myself, but I even asked, hey, can you just give me the keys and I'll do it? And oh no, we have specialized material, blah. And I'm like, well, I saw you. I'm pretty sure I could do it. But anyway, that's the story of why why I might sound weird, and also why, because I thought that all this stuff would be back in time, I didn't make a point to copy some notes and stuff on the episode numbers. So I had to look them up. Hopefully these things I say will be right. Anyway, so that is my story of this. Hopefully I'll have it back tomorrow. I hope.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, I guess we'll just go right into it, unless you have any amusing anecdotes from your personal life over the last few days.
Not this week, nah.
All right. Okay, so I've got My Adventures with Superman episode 18. Did you end up watching this? I know you didn't watch the things live, so I don't know which ones you caught up on.
I missed this one.
Okay, you didn't really miss too much, honestly. Basically, Brainiac uses this stuff to go into Superman's memories and kind of try to screw with him, but then he ends up managing to, I think, take control of Lois at the end. Yeah, well, you didn't see it, so I'm just skipping through it, and I didn't really think the episode was that interesting. Sorry, everyone, if you were excited to hear all about that. Okay, next one. After that, we have Zom 100, episode 12, the end. So, we get a flashback from the bad guy about how he dies in this episode, so whatever. We should have known probably by the flashback. Actually, I think all the antagonists got flashback stuff in the previous episode before dying, so that really should have tipped me off. Anyway, the heroes managed to basically fool him by making him think that Akira became a zombie by putting on just makeup and stuff on him. And then anyway, then they have the big thing where they're like, oh, well, you just wanted friends, so we can be friends, even though, like 5 minutes ago you were threatening to kill my father if I didn't become a zombie, but anyway. Yeah, anyway, but then, he's like, no, but gets bitten, and then I guess it's a last minute sort of redemption thing. I think he's, running off to just get the zombies away from them. And by the way, the zombies, in most past episodes, the zombies have been super fast. Here, they're, really slow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as a result, everyone managed to get away, trap the zombies, rebuild, and then our main characters go off to have more adventures, which if you want to, you can read about in the manga, although actually I'm not sure exactly at what point the manga left off at this point. Based on the episode titles and chapter titles, I think this would be around chapter 22 in volume 6, but I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really look it up. So if that's what if you like this show, then that's where you can continue. And there we have it, the end of the season 1 of Zom 100. So, yep. Did this final episode make you completely revise your opinion on the show and make you like it?
No. No, not really. Yeah, in fact, I was trying to debate with myself whether this is better or worse than Tokyo Ghoul, which is my other least favorite show I've ever seen. Probably Tokyo Ghoul has to be worse because it would make me sick to my stomach just watching it. And at least this doesn't do that. This one at least occasionally provides a little bit of humor. So this is not as bad as Tokyo Ghoul, but not by much. So
okay. Well,
yeah, it's pretty bad.
All right. Well, I did not dislike it as much as you did, but I was kind of a bit bored with it on the whole. I think this episode, I actually did, for as much as I made fun of it, I think I actually was more interested in it than a lot of the previous episodes. So I was kind of curious, because the author previously had this manga called Alice in Borderland, and it was a pretty different kind of story. It was the plot of it was that these friends, they kind of find themselves transported into what seems to be Japan, a sort of desolate Japan in the future, and then they in order to survive, they have to go through these basically super dangerous games. The first one is one where you're supposed to guess these numbers, how many, I can't remember them offhand, but basically you have to come up with numbers, and whatever number you're off by, you end up you end up having that many basically flaming arrows come at you, and then of course they end up the big question, you have to dodge them, and then the question is, what is the population of the Earth? You can round up to the nearest million, and then they end up getting a million off, so there's a friggin' million arrows, but they managed to deduce it. The question thing had these hidden things that helped them find out where they need to go to be safe from them. So it's kind of stuff like that. In my opinion, I was kind of curious, so I thought, okay, this was 4.5 like 5.5 volumes or something. What was my opinion of Alice in Borderland, which I think I overall liked at that point. So I went to the chapters, read up until that point, and I was thinking, oh yeah, I forgot about a lot of this stuff in this manga I didn't like. Basically, I talked about like the sort of death games. Those were mostly good. There were some clunkers in there, but for the most part, it was good. But the plot and the characters, other than that, I didn't really care about. And Zom 100 kind of feels like if you took that, but you removed all the games that were my favorite part of the series. So, yeah. If you're wondering about Alice in Borderland, I liked it more than I disliked it. Some parts of it I really liked, but on the whole, I think I was just I don't know exactly, but I kind of feel like this was just that series without the parts that I really liked in it. Yeah, so I don't want to go into a full-on review of that, but basically, I did think it was better than this. So, yeah, that's my overall thing. I did not dislike it nearly as much as you did, but I did think it was not that, it on the whole wasn't all that great so far. Maybe it gets better. I think Alice in Borderland had more interesting stuff later on, but based on just this so far, that's my opinion. Maybe the manga's better or worse, I don't know. Okay, so that's all I've got for that. I don't think right, we've got One Piece 674. So it looks like all the Tontada have been defeated. Usopp, Robin has also been beaten and turned into the toy. So Usopp and everyone else forgets everything about her, which partially, I guess, would explain his behavior in this episode. So Usopp decides that he just wants to run and not keep fighting, but then he gets persuaded to come back and try to fight, and thus, congratulations, Usopp, you managed to do character development that you had already gone through like 300 episodes ago. And, yeah, that was the main stuff that happened in this episode.
Yeah, this was an episode where, in a weird way, the padding actually made it better because by padding it out and making all those little people get killed, and by the way, they all said this like one weird phrase when they got killed, which was like really bizarre, but it was even more bizarre watching the
I don't think they died, actually.
Well, you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah, sorry, go on.
The closed captions would keep on coming up with like person A, person B, person X, person Y. Then it went into person AD, person AE, and it was just going on and on and on. But the padding made it work because it built up enough drama about Usopp going to run away from this, and eventually Usopp decides to come back, and it makes his return actually feel pretty significant. And then it also makes the humor between him and all the little people who are think he's a hero, it makes it funnier. So in a way, the padding actually was a good thing this week.
That's kind of true, but at the same time, my problem with the padding was that because I don't really like the way Usopp has been behaving in this part of the arc, because he, like I said, he kind of got over a lot of this stuff already, and for him to it feels like major character regression on his part. And if he had just decided to run off, after Robin got turned into toy, you could say, oh, well, he's got less investment, he's forgotten who she is, but he was acting like that even before then, so, yeah. So I don't know. I am gonna be interested to see the conclusion of this stuff with Sugar, because from what I understand, I know what happens in the manga. I haven't really seen the anime. Is it manages to simultaneously be the best part of the arc and the worst part of the arc.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I wasn't around for that character development of Usopp, so maybe that's why it feels better to me, in my opinion. You know?
Yeah, I get it. Let's see. I had one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, and by the way, here's something real. I didn't notice this until someone happened to mention it. We're not halfway through this arc yet.
Really?
No, we
Oh man.
are not. This was episode let me just double check. This was episode 46. This arc is a total of 108 episodes.
Wow. Wow. That is so basically a year from now, we're still going to be in this arc.
Well, they are doubling up, so if they stick with that, we might be over by the
Oh,
end of the
okay.
year.
Okay, good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you could maybe count like the last few episodes as maybe part of the next arc, but yeah, this episode definitely is around 118, so we are not even halfway through. Oh boy. Okay, so now we've gotten with that. Let's see. Did you see Naruto?
Yeah.
Okay, Naruto. It was shipped in 494. Not too much. It just kind of is a bit in the future, and it's a bunch of stuff about Naruto and Hinata's upcoming wedding, and Iruka wanting to pass to become a Jonin in time for that. And I'm thinking, you're not a Jonin yet, really, Iruka? Wow. Uh, so anyway, just to explain that, so the main characters at the start of Naruto, once they like officially graduate, they're Genin, and then when you pass the Chunin exam arc, which is of course a major arc of the series, then you become a Chunin, and then I don't know exactly how you graduate to Jonin after that, but that's like the really big thing. So I'm thinking, wow, Yurika, you were Chunin at the start of the series, and now you're still Chunin. Wow. Anyway, nothing too much to say about that other than it was actually kind of funny because one of his students hears the thing about Naruto stealing the scroll, so he decides to steal it, but then it turns out that Kakashi, just said, yeah, after just like replaced it with a copy of like, I think, Make Out Paradise, because he said, yeah, we learned from that, so we're not doing it again. Okay. Maybe it wasn't that, but it was one of the books in the series. All right, so we get done with that. All right, move on to our non-Toonami things. We've got Full Metal Panic, the second raid, episode 12.
Okay, so basically Sosuke gets lured into meeting up with the villain from the original first season, and he goes on some big rant and tells Sosuke all this stuff that's going on. And as soon as he finds out that he killed Kaname, Sosuke gets mad and shoots him and kills him. And meanwhile, there's a big battle going on that's going to destroy Hong Kong, and of course Kaname is dead, so there's not much to be hopeful about because there's no way he'll have survived going into the next episode. So because of that, yeah, I actually thought it was a really good episode, even though he's being sarcastic like this. I thought it was pretty cool to get Sosuke, like, this is the way Sosuke gets back to normal again, is by having to face one of his problems from the past. And I think it works well with developing his character, getting him from not caring about anything to suddenly being back to his normal self again. So I thought it was a great episode, actually. I'm not sure what's going on with Toonami. I kind of forget how this season ends, but I do think I remember it wasn't very satisfying, so that might be a problem. But yeah, that's this episode.
So let's see. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure Konami is not dead, just because if she had died, I'm pretty sure that it would have actually been on screen instead of a character telling him, by the way, she's dead. So, like, I don't think. Oh man, I'm sure there is some series that actually killed off a major character, like, off screen and then just got mentioned like that. Well,
has that ever happened before?
I feel like there was some example where that sort of happened, but I cannot remember exactly when. Something like that. Yeah, it's pretty much those sort of things. I mean, like, look, she's like either, depending how you look at it, either the first or second most important character in the series. So she's not going to, she's not going to die, and so like, and if she does, it's not going to be off screen, only mentioned by the bad guy. So. Yeah. I still do remember though in Blue Lock remember that character who like had all that like big, that kind of important development in the final game against Nagi's team, and he like kind of redeems himself and becomes and has like an important moment and all that stuff, and then he just gets eliminated in the next round off screen. Like it's not even mentioned. We just see the people who survived, and he's not there. And then I just don't think he's ever mentioned again. It's so weird. Okay. So, yeah. I should actually talk about the episode. Yeah, I thought it was decent. Like I kind of feel for the most part that this season of Full Metal Panic has handled the dramatic, serious stuff in a more interesting way than the first season did. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how it concludes next episode, and then we'll move on to Invisible Victory. And then, well, there's nothing of the anime past that, so if you want to know what happens after that anime, you're either going to have to wait and hope there's more, or just get a hold of the light novel and read it. I'm kind of curious how satisfying of an ending it'll end up being.
Yeah.
All right. So then we've got Dark Gathering episode 19. So they end up, because they need to catch another of the graduates, the really powerful ghosts. They go to an abandoned love hotel, I think it was, and so then basically, what do you know? They end up kind of falling into a trap where Keitaro gets captured by the ghost. We get stronger fan service than the series has had up until this point, but then they manage to rescue him, and they get that, and all is good. So on the whole, I'll be honest, I kind of found this episode kind of boring for the most part. I think my problem is that the show has kind of gotten pretty repetitive to me. It's just, for a while now, it's just, okay, we need to defeat this big ghost and capture it because this is Pokemon. So we're going to go to this place, we're going to have to deal with the ghost, and then we'll beat it, and then we'll capture it to further fill out our Pokedex, and then we'll move on to the next one without any real advancement in the plot.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it because I felt the same way. It just the last 5 or 6 episodes have felt like the same thing over and over again, and I I I think this goes back to my thoughts about being desensitized to all the horror in the series. Like they can't scare me at this point now. So it doesn't matter how, icky things get for Keitaro. I'm not I'm not at all surprised by anything. So I think that's a big problem for the show at this point. Um uh and there don't seem to be very big stakes. Like no one's life is ever actually in danger. So it just feels kind of stale at this point. Hopefully, toward the end of the season, it changes a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I guess people's lives are in universe in danger, but from an out of
Mhm.
universe perspective, you never really think that they're in danger of dying. I I kind of feel like I was looking at this and just the more repetitive nature. I was thinking this is reminding me kind of JoJo, like especially part three. But JoJo worked because sure, it's the same thing. They encounter a stand user, they have to fight them, they win, then they move on. But that worked because usually they had like interesting powers, and our heroes would fight them with their own various powers because we had multiple characters, they had different powers, so that made for diverse fights. Whereas here it's just kind of like, oh, Yayoi, just kind of beats it in the same general way. So that's the basic problem I've got with that. So I'm hoping we do get forward a bit, or at least like do some more things with the plot.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. So then we move on to Konosuba, and that's episode, 30. And so basically in this episode we find out, okay, so they got the whole reason Darkness's family is in debt to that guy is basically because they had to get the money to try to help out people who were uh, affected negatively by, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was one of like the random escapades our characters have gotten into before. So that kind of makes them feel guilty, but Vanir shows up and basically tells Cosmo, by the way, oh, well, actually, he was the one who explained all this stuff. And he says, by the way, here's a bunch of money in exchange for some things. You can use that to resolve the debt. So then they just basically crash the wedding to get Darkness out of there. And that's our episode.
Yeah, very entertaining with Megumin's uh, ideas of how to blow up, so to speak, the wedding. Um, yeah, I actually thought Megumi was the best character in this episode. I really uh which is surprising, not just because I've never been a fan of Megumi, but I never thought Megumi would actually care enough to try to save Darkness from this. I just figured Megumi's all about Megumi, and she wouldn't really do anything. But as it turns out, she is pretty good at it, and she provided a lot of humor here. And I like a lot of the jokes in this episode. This has definitely been the best episode in quite some time for Konosuba.
I thought it was pretty good. Although I actually, when I watched a bunch of the episode, there were funny bits, but I thought this episode kind of was focusing more on like the plot than the jokes. But it still worked fine because it was actually interesting what it was doing. So yeah, worked out. It's a strong episode in my view, I think. And I don't have too much to do with that. Although, of course, the part where Wait, was that this episode or the previous one? Was this the one where Kazuma is like inventing and trying to sell bubble wrap?
Yeah.
Okay, that was this episode then. Yeah, that's always kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So on our next episode, we'll move on to Kaiju number 8, episode 9. So there's basically a big raid on the base by a bunch of kaiju, which one of the, I guess, humanoid kaiju, as you could call it, is orchestrating. That one, or at least like one of the human-like ones. So basically, it's an action episode where people fight against all the kaiju, and meanwhile, the vice captain guy, whose name I can't remember offhand, but he ends up fighting against like the super powered bad kaiju one, which then it like makes itself super big in the fight to make it harder. And that was our episode. Oh yeah, and Hikaru gets a giant axe.
Um, so I'm having a problem with the show is that the lighting is just too dark. So it really feels like I'm watching this in black and white. And I know it's supposed to be dark and stuff, but it's overdoing it with that. And it's making it actually difficult to enjoy because of how dark in color the screen is. So yeah, that was my biggest problem with this episode. And I'm hoping someone big will die. That way we finally get some actual some stakes going on here. But I don't know. Next episode something might big happen. I might have been spoiled to that. Maybe I was wrong, but we'll see if something big happens soon that's gonna increase the stakes, or maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, this episode, it was fairly mediocre, a little just barely above average.
Okay, I like Hikaru in it, but other than she was having some fun with the axe. But other than that, yeah, it was kind of just an action episode, but not with super great action, unfortunately. So it was okay. All right, and then then we got Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf, episode 3. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take it. So I I'm sitting here all this time thinking, what's the show that I have to do the the recap of? I couldn't remember what it was, and not until you just said it here did I remember it. So, so basically, economics class, and I was kind of tipped off of this before, like a long time ago, back at some convention where some person like made a panel out of like learning economics from Spice and Wolf. So there's a lot of economics here, and basically what I can say about this episode is when the show was dealing about the interactions between Lawrence and Holo, then it was good. But whenever it was doing all the economic stuff, it wasn't so good. So a mixed bag for this episode, I'd have to say.
Yeah, that's kind of my opinion also. I well, I mean, some of the stuff was, yeah, because let me think if I can even remember exactly how the episode is kind of spread out. We get a bunch of economic stuff. We do have some stuff where like some bad guys show up and they're trying to capture them, but they manage to get away. So it kind of becomes not really action, but chase, I guess, at that point. Suspense, maybe, however you want to call it. And then, he goes and like saying, "Hey, we need to go rescue her." We get more economic talk. Definitely through. I kind of, when they talk about the economic things, like, oh well, this person was trying to trick us, but we have outsmarted them, and now we will do this in order to get money. But no, because of the fact we've done that, they are now trying to stop us from doing that. And oh wait, here's the reason why. And I'm just kind of think I've started to kind of treat those the same way on Food Wars, where they just spent a bunch of time explaining how they cooked the meal. I just basically look at it and say, I'm just going to assume everything you're saying is true. But yes, it is the same thing. Like, their interactions are fun. But I don't know about all this merchant and trading and economic stuff. I mean, I get the important stuff out of it, but like I said, it starts to feel very much like the Food Wars, where a character just spends like half a minute explaining, well, I took this and then I added this and then I made sure to heat it up just the right amount and all that stuff. Okay. And thus ends the non-Toonami series. We can go into Toonami Rewind, which I unfortunately wasn't able to watch some of because, well, again, computer problems. So the stuff like on Crunchyroll, I can watch that on my phone because there's the app. And I could do that with High Dive also, which has an app, which I am glad they finally updated, I think, a few months ago, so it actually works okay, even if they probably made their website a little worse in the process. But so yeah, so do you want to go over Sailor Moon episode 6?
There's nothing to say. It's the same episode, so
Okay.
you didn't miss anything.
Well,
it's literally the exact same formula as the last, I don't know how many episodes now. Yeah, we desperately need to get Amy in the so soon, or Ami, I guess that's how they pronounce her name. We need her badly so we can finally get something new to this show, because this is just the same thing every episode. It's terrible.
What? Well, you said it's the same thing, but each episode at least has a gimmick. What was the gimmick of this episode? We've had like pets,
I'm having a hard time remembering.
Okay.
I'm struggling to remember because it's just the same old stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, we've done pets, we've done like losing weight, we've done radio stuff. What else is?
It was love. Oh, it was love. I think something to do with love.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then we've got Dragon Ball Z Kai episodes 11 and 12. So basically, Goku finally shows up, and then he shows up, and of course we have the famous part where Nappa asks Vegeta what his power level is, and well, in this one they actually translated it accurately, and Vegeta says it's over 8,000.
Yeah, they really should have just gone with the over 9,000, because that's what everyone knows. And it's like, does it really make that big of a difference if you get it perfectly right to the original Japanese? Just give the fans what they want,
Yeah. What was interesting was I looked it up. So obviously the original one had over 9,000. Then when Funimation redubbed the series, they kept the 9,000. When Dragon Ball Z Kai, I think, was originally broadcast, it was 9,000. But then it got switched apparently in the DVD release, which I guess was supposed to be more uncut or whatever. And then they had over 8,000, which is what they used, I guess, in this rebroadcast of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Although on the other thing is, it's not even just 9,000. It's just the over the top delivery in the original series. None. I actually
Yeah.
there's literally, you can look online and there's this compilation of all the different versions times that line was like set, and whether 8,000 or 9,000, including, like from games and stuff, and also from this bit from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, where in that one the joke is Vegeta says it's 1,006. Oh well, that's not much at all, and then gets beaten easily, and Vegeta realizes, oh wait, I had it upside down. It's over 9,000. But yeah. Anyway, so we get that. Piccolo and Piccolo does end up dying, so that means the Dragon Balls go away. But Vegeta's like, yeah, whatever. If we go to Namek, we'll probably find more Dragon Balls there. And yep, and Goku's after Goku shows up, and we of course get the famous line, or something very close to the famous line. He's able to beat Nappa without too much trouble, and yep, that's basically that. Well, I actually already explained that, but I got a little sidetracked because of course I have to talk about over 9,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened this episode. So now Piccolo has joined the ranks of the dead. So I'm wondering if there's going to be anyone left by the time Goku finally has his battle with Vegeta, and maybe like if he runs out of people, who's he going to get to power up the spirit bomb? So we need people for the spirit bomb, because I heard that takes about 5 episodes, or at least it did in the original. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah. From what I heard is that the spirit bomb only actually works to its full potential like one time in all of Dragon Ball. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. Quick thing: if you've been hearing any sort of like noise in the background, someone on the floor above, I think they're walking. There's some noise coming. It's probably someone walking around. But in case that was picked up, I thought I might want to mention that. Anyway, yeah, the spirit bomb, people do make jokes. Let me think. There might be a case that I'm forgetting about, but I remember there are 2 cases where it does inflict a good amount of damage to the opponent, but it doesn't beat them. They survive it, and they're still a threat, and then they have to find some other way to finish them off. And then one time, as I recall, yeah, that does end up letting them win. So there's that. But yeah, I do know there was literally one episode in the original series, at least one full episode, that was literally just Goku powering up the spirit bomb. So
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah.
All right. So then finally we conclude with Naruto episode 6. So since now that they've become official ninjas, they unfortunately, all the low level missions for them are actually pretty boring ones, like recapturing cats or babysitting. Naruto says he wants a harder one, so they do end up getting because those other ones were D rank missions, so they said, okay, we'll go with a C rank mission, which is just escorting this guy on this trip from any sort of bandits. But then he gets attacked by ninjas, which the main characters do manage to defeat them, although Naruto kind of freezes up and gets injured, and then he's like annoyed, oh, Sasuke looked way cooler than me.
Mm-hmm.
We find out, though, that the ninjas were after the merchant guy, and that this actually is a more dangerous mission than they claimed it was. Although there is a kind of cool bit where Naruto's like, he's like, no, I don't want us to have to go back for medical things to deal with the poison he got. So he like just opens up this wound to make the blood come out to save himself from it. And I just like how Kakashi goes, okay, Naruto, that was kind of cool, but if you don't stop that wound, you're going to die from blood loss. And then Naruto kind of panics, so it's like the joke, and that's basically our episode.
Yeah, not as good as the last few episodes, I'd have to say. I wasn't as interested in uh this episode. Yeah, don't really much else to say.
Okay. And that's it. That's all of our series, I believe. I don't think we're forgetting anything. So, with that, I guess we can give the top threes, which are not counting the Toonami rewinds, admittedly, and you don't count Full Metal Panic. So, yeah, I guess we can go into. Well, at least when we won't do it because you've already seen it. So I guess we'll. Well, I guess when we get to Invisible Victory, we can actually our comparisons will mean more. But anyway, yes, top three stuff.
Yeah. So do you want to go?
Oh
first?
No, you started talking. You go.
Okay. Third place for me is Spice and Wolf. Second place, thanks to all the padding, is One Piece. It worked in its favor for once this week, so I have to give it credit whenever credit is due. The padding actually paid off, and the fact that I wasn't around One Piece long enough to see Usopp already get this character development. That's the other reason why I give it a high score. And the best show of the week, though, had to be Konosuba.
Okay, for me, this one is a slightly tricky one, but I guess I will just say, sure, let's go Kaiju number 8 in third, Full Metal Panic in second, Konosuba in first. Simple, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, I think that's everything then. I guess I kind of already used up my, hey, here's a funny anecdote thing at the start of the podcast. Did you have anything, or shall we just conclude it?
No, I don't really have much to add this week. Sorry.
All right. Well, with that said, we're done with our podcast now, and you can, well, I guess we'll see you next week again.
Bye.
Kira Yamato seemed like all his other friends, but he has a secret.
You did betray your own people, didn't you?
And a deadly talent.
I also happen to be a coordinator.
A genetically enhanced coordinator. Kira possesses abilities far beyond his earthling friends.
There's no reason why I have to do any of those things.
Cast as protector and conqueror, Kira is unsure of either role.
But that doesn't mean I can fight in battle.
It's time. The battle lines are drawn, and a new war emerges.
Here they come. All hands, level 1 battle stations.
Kira finds himself facing down an enemy he doesn't hate.
We don't want anything to do with your war.
And championing a cause he doesn't understand.
Why can't you go away and let us live in peace?
As after the Earth forces face off, Kira and his Gundam may be Earth's only hope.
I'm not about to be defeated here!
Or the harbinger of its demise.
Failure is not an option.
It's coming. Portside Valiant, fire! Strike Gundam heading out!
Gundam Seed, tonight at 10:30, only Toonami.